Hello and welcome, this is Mouse Gunner, and I'm going to be starting up a brand new series of a game that's not all that new, Unity of Command. This came out in 2012, but at the time that it came out, I hadn't really heard of it. And it wasn't until recently when I was doing some research on the wargame genre, and this is a wargame, that I found out about the sequel to this game, Unity of Command 2, and the fact that that's going to come out later this year. So I thought it'd be cool to take a look at the original, as it did get positive reception, see what it's all about, and maybe we'll look at the sequel when it comes out later this year. With that being said, I have delved into war games in the past. Many of them are turn-based strategy games, and I really like turn-based strategy, so it kind of fits in with my tastes. Sometimes war games can have quite a steep learning curve, but from what I've heard of Unity of Command, that's not so much the case. It is a little bit easier to get into if you're new to the genre. So we'll see if that's indeed the case. Now, I have played a little bit of it. I played through the kind of starter scenario as well as going through the tutorial. So I have an idea of the basics of how to play, and now we're going to jump into the campaign. So I went ahead and picked up the DLC for this game as well because it was on sale during the Steam summer sale. So it was pretty affordable, and it wasn't that much more to pick up the 2 DLCs. So the base game is going to come with 2 campaigns, and they're both going to be during the same time period, so you're just taking either side of the same conflict. And then the DLC campaigns is you have this one, Black Turn, and you have Red Turn. So Black Turn, you're only from the side of the Axis, and you're doing the beginning of, this is in the East, so this is Operation Barbarossa in 1941. And then, as I said, the standard campaigns, that's going to be more in the middle. You're doing the Stalingrad campaign from 42 to 43. And again, you can be either Axis or Soviet. And then the last campaign, which again is DLC, is you're on the Soviet side. And this is the road to Berlin, so 43 to 45. So ending out the war. As much as this is DLC, I think it would be interesting to start this off chronologically. That may be the wrong thing to do, as you may get more of an introduction in the game by playing through the base game. But I'd like to go through the campaign the way that it played out. So let's go ahead and click on this. Now, the one thing about doing this particular campaign as opposed to the base one, and some of these things are things I'm just going to have to learn as I go. Normally speaking, if you were to start up the Stalingrad campaign, if I was the Axis, because we're Axis in this particular campaign, you'd only have one selection. And then you'd go from a chain off of there. So the way this campaign is going to work, it's a series of scenarios. At least this is the way that the base campaign works, because that's what is in the manual. I read through a little bit of the manual as well. And depending on how you do, you could have different branches. So if you do pretty well, you may encounter scenarios that you couldn't have encountered if you didn't do so well. Now, from what I understand of the campaign, though, if you fail a mission, that pretty much halts your whole campaign. So you do have to get through the mission and at least get a baseline victory, but you can get varying degrees of victory, and if you do quite well, you could have a different path that you can take. But in this case, I actually see 3 starting points, and I don't know if we pick one point, if we are stuck in on that point, we just have to follow that path, or we can follow all 3 paths. So we have Army Group North, Army Group Center, and Army Group South. So let's start in the north and just read a little bit of the description. Now, we'll point out, you guys can't see my mouse pointer, and that's just the way that I have to capture this game. For some reason, it's giving me some problems as far as capturing it goes. I cannot do this in full screen, and because I'm having to do this in windowed mode at a particular resolution, my mouse isn't capturing properly, so if my mouse was on screen, it wouldn't be anywhere where it's actually pointing, so it would just confuse the crap out of you guys. So I think it'd just be better to not capture it than have you all be confused. So with that being said, we have Army Group North. We're on June 22nd, 1941. I'm going to assume that's the date with all 3 of these, yeah. So Army Group North is tasked with clearing the Baltic states of Soviet forces. A quick advance to a place name. I'm not really great at pronouncing certain place names, and the Russian ones are going to give me a lot of problems. Is essential to secure the springboard for a subsequent drive on Leningrad. So we're going up this way, more or less. There's Leningrad right there. Actually, again, mouse pointer not working. I have to remind myself that. So you can see Leningrad just up to the north, below Finland up above. Again, I can't highlight that with my mouse. So it looks like our group is going to be, and you do get to see the tooltip here pop up as I hover over this. So we have 133 infantry and 17 armor, and then we have 1 air attack Okay, and then our opponent's going to have 24 armor and 94 infantry. So we actually outnumber them in infantry. Let's take a look at center. The Soviets have concentrated their forces precariously close to the border and annexed eastern Poland. Army Group Center is poised to cut through and encircle the bulk of these troops before racing hard towards Minsk. Okay, so yeah, it looks like that's just off to the east is the city they mentioned there. Okay, so we have 63 armor and 297 infantry, so a lot more. They have 54 and 177. And it looks like we have not only air attack, but we also have bridges. You can build bridges. You can also blow up bridges in this game. And then we have South. Army Group South stands ready to cross the border into areas of Poland and Romania, recently annexed by the Soviets. Taking advantage of Soviet forward deployment, its goal is to destroy a large number of Soviet units in their place before proceeding with the conquest of resource-rich Ukraine. In this case, we have 35 armor, 263 infantry, and the opponent has a lot of armor, 96 and 210 infantry. And again, we have a bridge and an air attack. Now, personally, I am interested in doing the South group, because that should lead into Stalingrad. If you go pretty far over to the east, just above the Caspian Sea, and if you follow that river, the Volga River, you'll eventually get to Stalingrad. So that's where Army Group South is going to be the one that encounters that. So if we follow that path, we'll get there. And in that case, I'm going to, I think, start with Army Group South, and we'll see if it makes me just keep going that path, or we can go back up to Army Group North later. So let's go ahead and start this scenario. But yeah, they have a lot more armor than we have, and from what I've seen in this game, is armor is very valuable in this game, as it's quite powerful. But these are like division-size units, so it's like a Panzer division, or what have you. At least I think it's division size. It's a little bit more on a grander scale than some, you know, some war games. They have different levels of scale. This does kind of follow the formula set by the Panzer General series. At least that's the, I would say, the inspiration for this. So we're just getting a repeat here. So now we have our objectives here. So destroy the Soviet forces around that particular town in the center while striking for another town and another town. Oh, actually, these are bridges. Okay, so a couple bridges on the flanks. Actually, it is a town, because I can see that over just to the right there. We have victory in 9 turns, and we have decisive victory in 7 turns. Brilliant victory is capture every objective on time. Scenario notes: several units on the Lvov, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that, axis arrive on turn 2. These units can be deployed directly, okay, at a couple different locations as soon as these cities are captured. Possible due to captured rolling stock from the Reichsbahn gauge conversion yard at a place. Okay. So we want to capture this location pretty fast then, because that's turn 2. Alright, so you're going to see the map all in front of us. And I should be able to now move around on the map, which I'm just clicking and dragging to do that. Okay, so let's just go over a little bit what we're looking at. So units are probably pretty easy to make out. They're going to be, if I highlight one, actually I could just click on one. So we'll click on a Soviet Union to start. So all this red territory is Soviet territory. All the territory back here that probably has a gray tint to it, that's going to be my territory. There's also supply, which is pretty important, but we'll focus on that a little bit later. So as we've clicked on this unit, we get to see a bunch of things about them. So we've got their attack stats, which I'm highlighting right now. That's the lightning bolt. We have their defense stats, which is the shield. We have their movement, which is a little arrow here. And then we have whether or not they have armor, which is an infantry unit, so they have 0 armor. Then the next thing we have is their unit strength. This is something they call steps, which are these little pips. And the pips are just going to be more or less their health points, how many hits they can take before they're destroyed. And then they also have a special step here. I'm not sure if we're going to see what it is in the tooltip, but you might see this little blue shield. I think it will tell me down here what it is a little bit later, but that's a special step. Then we have some experience. There is experience that you gain by doing various things, and units will gain experience, but this one doesn't really have any experience. It's just standard. It's not a green unit or anything like that. And then if we go down to here, we'll see this is a specialist step, which is again being indicated by this little blue shield, and we get to see what it is. So this is some type of artillery. There's going to be certain things that these specialist things are going to do. So in this case, this is a specialist shift. It says armor shift. So this is an anti-tank gun. So if this particular unit is facing armor, it's going to negate a bonus that armor typically gets. We can also see that this unit is entrenched. This is the little shovel here. You also see that on the units. You'll see that little orange shovel there. That shows that they're entrenched. So they're going to be kind of hard to punch through unless we have engineers or we use artillery or various other means to try and get through them. So that's more or less all you can see on a unit. Every unit will have more or less the same kind of thing. So if we come over here, we can see a different unit. We see that they have a different specialist unit, but it's going to be the same kind of idea. So we have blocking troops. So some of these specialist things, I'm not going to know 100% what they do. Just from the fact that I didn't see them in the tutorial, but I think we'll figure them out as we go. So that gives you an idea. Now, with my units, because it's my turn, we have a couple indicators that we didn't see on that other unit, and that's going to be movement, and we have the number of points that we have, and we have an action. This is going to be usually your attack, but you can use it in other ways. And when we click on our unit, we'll see this orange area that we can move into. This is already accounting for us terrain and what have you. Now we can see terrain through various means. First off, we can show objectives. Now they do have key bindings that they show you readily. So if I hit O, there's all my objectives. So these are all the things that I have to capture, and we get an idea of the timetable we'd want to capture them in. I'm going to lose prestige beyond turn 2 if I have not captured this particular location beyond turn 4 with this location, and so on. So I do have kind of a time limit, and the way this game works, or the various victory things that I need, I have to do this in a certain number of turns. So this really does emphasize go, 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 get things done quickly. Kind of your blitzkrieg tactics. So that is pretty important. To capture an objective, all we have to do is just get on top of it and sit on it. So to capture this town, I just have to get a unit here, and then I'll capture it. Now my opponent, to recapture it, has to do the same. They just have to put a unit there and stop on it, and then they will gain it. So that's pretty much that. We also have supply, which again you can hold in the key binding to give you an idea of where your supply is and where it's coming from. And a good thing to pay attention to are these lines here. These are the rail lines, and supply is going to come more or less from the rail lines, out from them. So pretty important to have control of them and not move too far away from them, because the further you get away from the rail line, you start to see supply goes down. And if you get out of supply, that's quite bad for you. And if you're out of supply for several turns, obviously it's going to accumulate. Now it's the beginning of the turn that's checked. So it's not where you end. Well, where you end kind of matters, but it's at the beginning that all that's checked. So you'll be out of supply at the beginning of your turn, and even if you move into supply, it's checked at the beginning, so you're still out of supply until the turn goes back around. As I mentioned, terrain. So this is going to give us an idea of the various terrains. So we've got woods, hills, and so on. And this is going to modify how much it costs us to get through various spots. So you'll note that, moving down this way, I can't really move all that far because I've got hills and mountains and other stuff in my way. You also note that there's a little orange dot. This is zone of control. Zone of control, which I believe is another key binding we've got. Yeah, Z. These are areas that my opponent is locking down, and when I hit a zone of control, my unit has to stop until that particular unit loses its own control. How you make a unit lose its zone of control is you either weaken it, which is dropping it below a certain health level as far as steps, or you destroy it. Then it will no longer have a zone of control, and you can just move past it like it's not even there. It can still move around and do things, but it's not exerting a zone of control anymore. And then, of course, we have weather, which we can press the W key and we can see weather, and this is also going to modify various things. Now, I also mentioned that we have the ability to build bridges and to do air attacks. This is going to be every turn, so this will refresh on the turn. There are sometimes a hard number of air attacks that you'll be able to have, so you'll have 1 a turn, but then you'll have a max number of, let's say, 4. That means you can only do 4 air attacks in the entire scenario. I don't think we had a hard number like that, but all we have is the 1 air attack per turn, and this is a pretty valuable resource. You'll see how that works once we use it. Now, bridges, we can either build or destroy bridges. It will take a full turn to build a particular bridge, so we do have to wait for that to happen. Now, it's June, so I don't expect the rivers are frozen or anything like that, so we are going to have to worry about the rivers and their crossing. And it looks like there's a river all along here, along our front, so that will probably be challenging to get through. And then we have a river that goes around like that, and then we have another river down here. So there are more or less rivers everywhere in our way for the initial engagement, so that's going to make this a little bit challenging. All right, so let's start looking at what we got and where we want to start. So it looks like this middle area, and this is our first objective. I can't really see what the name of the location is, but I'm sure if I hit O here, yeah. So this is our first objective, as this is what we need to do if we want to get our reinforcements. We also do have a force pool here where we can draw things. I believe the reserve, this will cost me prestige to drop these units, and then the force pool is going to be things like, I believe if we capture this town, we get for free through the scenario. So I can deploy various things. Here we see specialist steps that I could deploy. Let's see, if we click on, for example, this. Okay, this is reinforcements. And again, it's going to cost us a certain amount. So you can see that's going to cost me 50 to get 1 step worth of reinforcements. Or again, we can get the specialist steps that are over here. So we have a Stug 3. Okay. So anti-air. And then a Pioneer division. Otherwise, an engineer unit. And I did talk about how engineers is going to be one way that we get through all this entrenchment. Okay, so that's enough of that. I don't really want to worry about the reserves right now. All right, so where could I easily punch through? Is everybody entrenched? Looks like everybody along this front line is entrenched. None of the units down here are entrenched, but we only have a couple units down there. These guys are all entrenched as well. So that's going to be tough to get through. What kind of units do we have here? So we have a Hungarian motorized unit here, and unfortunately very poor attack values. Just to give you a comparison, come back over to one of our more standard infantry. See how we have 4 attack and 3 defense. That unit only had 2. The other nations that are your allies tend to not be as strong. So here we have a Romanian Calvary. We'll see that they only have 1 attack value. Probably cavalry is not all that effective though. Let's go to, oh yeah, their infantry tends to be pretty bad too. So the Romanian units are not going to be that strong for us. But we do have some German infantry down here that's pretty strong. So we'll have to do some more things with them. Okay, so let's go ahead. Again, let's focus our attention here. So is there a spot that I can really get through? Well, this guy only has 3 strength. I could probably knock him back pretty early or easily. Got another guy here that is 3 strength. Let's see, when I take this and I hover over, we can get an idea of what would happen if I attacked. So this is my odds. Now, there is a bit of randomization, so you don't have a guarantee of any particular thing happening. But in this case, it's showing my losses versus their losses. So in this case, I would lose nothing, and they would lose 2 units. -1 for the entrenchment. I'm not sure if I'm understanding that correctly. Maybe it would have been even worse without the entrenchment. So we can see with their steps, they would lose 2 steps. And sometimes you have a percentage chance of retreat. At this moment, it says 0% chance. So we're not going to get this guy to retreat by attacking him. At least not at this moment at the strength level that they're at. We could airstrike somebody to weaken them. And there are different types of damage. You can just straight up destroy a step. But you can also suppress them, which would be nice as well. They keep that strength, but it makes that step more or less not really fight in that unit. So even though you're not killing a particular step, you can suppress them heavily enough to weaken them so that they no longer have a zone of control or what have you. Now, the entrenchment is going to lower our odds as far as the airstrike goes. So we do have to plan out not only where we're going to attack now, but also where we're going to attack later, because we do want to get to this, possibly even in this turn. So we want to do as much damage as we can in this one turn, do it as quickly as we can. All right, so we get an idea of the odds. So -2 is worse than -1. And I've never seen better than... oh, okay, so this would be even odds, it looks like. So these guys might be good targets for us, although whether or not they're a high priority, I'd have to decide. I'm thinking maybe we start with an attack here. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can break the line here and weaken these units enough. If I were to attack into this unit, no, that's still not bad. We have a 30% chance to retreat them. What kind of unit am I looking at? Ah, German Mountain. Okay. And then I'm guessing, yeah, okay, we're elite, so that's probably why we're so effective, despite their entrenchment. Now here we see 1-to-1. Okay. Do we have engineers anywhere? That's going to be important, I think, for our decision making, because engineers can break through entrenchment. So anywhere I have an engineer, I may want to start there. Not really seeing any specialist steps on any of our infantry along this line. So, oh, here we go. There's an engineer unit. Unfortunately, we're attacking across the river. At least I think we are. Kind of hard to see if there's a river there or not. Might not be one. So this is actually not a bad spot for us to attack. Maybe if I go to the terrain, which was T. Yeah, there is a river there. So that is going to make it challenging for me to cross. There's a bridge there, though, according to that. So maybe we smash through here and here and see if we can get across these bridges. We also have one here. So these 3 units, there's one here as well. We want to kill them. So let's start at the top and kind of work our way through. So you're an engineer, and you're not adjacent to any of the units we want to destroy, unfortunately. You're not an engineer. Now, we could deploy an engineer to give us a little bit easier time getting through these guys. So that's not good odds for us. This unit is not a particularly strong unit. It's not a full infantry unit. Okay, well, let's take a look at you. You're a little bit better. Maybe we stick you with an engineer. See if we can kill these guys. And if we can add this at 200 cost. I think that's a fairly good idea. Okay, yeah. We're good with that. And then, I mean, it's still the same odds, but in this case, we might be able to break their entrenchment. So let's go ahead and go for this attack. Okay. We did breach. That was the thing there. So they no longer have entrenchment. We see that right there. We keep our movement points because we didn't actually move. So let's see if we can break these guys. We'll lose a little bit if we attack with the security unit, but it's not bad considering our attack value. We are attacking across a river, though, so it is causing us some issues. Actually, no, that's 2-to-1 odds. That's not so great for us. I could attack... This is a weakened unit now as well, if we take a look at that. They're now weak. So they don't exert a zone of control, which we can see if we press the Z. This is the zone of control of that particular unit. I guess that's not that great of a demonstration. Okay, so I still think we take this attack. Well, we're not going to retreat them, though. Well, one thing I could do is I can move this unit back and let another unit... Oh, you know what? Let's go with this one. There we go. So we'll kill this unit. Destroyed. Okay, now we can get our Panzer up in there. And we'll attack. Let's go ahead and suppress. I don't want to use my air asset up here. So okay, we have 5-to-1 odds, and we have a very big chance of not only retreat, but an overrun. Overrun's really good, because if you overrun, you not only do damage to the unit, I think even destroying them possibly, but you also get your attack regenerated, because you only get 1 attack return. You only get 1 lightning bolt. Yeah, we just overran them, so they're destroyed, and we get our attack back. Unfortunately, I believe we spent all our movement points. So one thing I can do is I can hit spacebar, and I can move one more time by using the attack I just got to move myself. I'm not sure I want to do that just yet, but it is something we could do. So that unit has been destroyed. So let's move on to a different unit. Now, these 2 units have attacked. I could move this unit in the place of that unit and move a more veteran unit across. We do have engineers here, so that might be a good one to move. Okay, so the armor is not going to be necessarily as good of a fight as the infantry is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this infantry, because we have 50% chance to get them to run away. And also, our engineers will break through them and breach them. So we just killed 3 and breached them. Now they're weak. So their zone of control is gone, and we can see that continue to deteriorate. Okay, let's go ahead and move the security unit down in there to fill the hole. Alternatively, we could move this guy up and destroy this unit. I may even be able to cross the river, although I think I'm at a penalty for the turn that I do that without a bridge. There's not a bridge here. I might be able to move, though, in a way that I use the bridge this turn. So let's go ahead and cross the river here with this unit, who's already used its action point, so they're not going to be able to attack. But might as well keep moving here, because, you know, speed is of the essence. Let's go ahead with this unit. I think we... Oh, we can do really heavy damage. Oh, no, that's heavy damage to me. Yeah, let's just try and see if we can take this guy out. We have a 10% chance to retreat him. It's going to be tough, though, with the river to gain much headway with the rest of my attacking here, but I may be able to push this guy back with a couple successive attacks. So we'll try for that. Unfortunately, we did lose a unit there, despite it not being listed as on the odds. That's just one of the things that can happen. Let's finish this guy off with our security. I think our security will be able to finish a unit that is only 1 strength, but I could be wrong. Okay, we just killed him. Now we should be able to cross. I will do so. So I'm not going to get too much further. Let's go ahead and move this unit now with the spacebar, now that I kind of know how the front is moved for us. And we have 1 more movement point, but I can't go any further just because of the terrain, possibly the weather. Yeah, weather slows you down just as much as terrain may. Okay, I'm not really certain where I want to move there just yet. I definitely want to move in here, but I think we're going to hit this weakened unit and ignore this one. If I remember correctly. Okay, so discourage. Oh, that's what that is. Okay, so this is like a commissar that's going to discourage them from retreating. But the downside of a commissar is that you take more casualties. That I read in the manual. So let's go ahead and move up. Okay, that's 2-to-1 odds. Maybe we can break them with somebody else. We could use an airstrike. I'm kind of hesitant, though, to take really a lot of losses for not much gain. So we'll come back to this. But I at least want to fill that hole so the enemy can't just come across. We do have a hole already here, but there's no bridge for us to use. So we want to kill this unit so we can use the bridge. So is that something that I can likely do? Because then if I do that, I can get my panzer units in across the river, and we can do some good work. Yeah, the bridge is right there, though. I really do want to kill this unit. I'm going to come back to that, though, because we'll have enough damage potential there to possibly kill that unit. I just might take a lot of casualties and get-go. Alright, so this guy we want to destroy. 2-to-1 odds, unfortunately. And I want to make that better. That's where engineer units are going to be useful, and maybe I shouldn't have wasted it up there, but we did make good headway up there. Not, unfortunately, headway to many of our objectives, but we do have an objective to capture this within 2 turns, so moving up in the north fast does have advantages. Okay, I'm going to pass on a lot of this stuff. I want to focus on getting ground here, so as much as this space is open to cross, I have to use my action point. That's the way that rivers work. This consumes everything for you, and you're at a disadvantage when you cross. So ideally, you don't want to do that. And you can only cross a river if you start adjacent to it. So this isn't the ideal way to do this. It's something that I could do, but I prefer not to do in the face of my enemy. All right, so I did see some good odds over here. I think we have to airstrike one of these units. What are our odds like here? So we could do a casualty here without suffering any. I'm going to have to worry about these armor divisions at some point. And a good way to take out armor is with your own armor. We do have a lead armor here that might be able to do some good damage. Alright, I think this is a pretty strong move here. As a matter of fact, this one unit can possibly kill this entire unit, and it's going to get us the possibility of moving other units in. Is there a river there? No, okay. It's not going to affect anything there. So let's go ahead and just take this one right as it is. Okay, they're dead. I'm not going to move just yet, because I want to see what else we can get done here. So I think this guy here is probably going to be in the way of a lot of what we want to do. So maybe airstrike that guy. And we can open more of a hole here to drive into. We don't want to get encircled, though, because this unit could potentially do that to me. Again, this is not a very strong unit here. Problem is our odds are really bad in this area. I think this one is worth doing, though. Let's try it. Okay, so unfortunately that didn't do anything. There's always a chance that it won't do anything. That sucks for us, but it is what it is. So we're just gonna have to make do with what we've got. So in this case, I think we're just gonna move up to the zone of control. What is this guy's stats? 2-on-2. Okay. So unfortunately, we don't have very strong units down in the south here. So we're probably not going to push through this guy too much. What is this? Soviet motorized, okay. I think I'll go ahead and make this move, though. 2-on-1, okay. Maybe we can weaken with this unit, and then make other headway. So, we'll go ahead and damage this guy. The more steps you take through, and we did breach them. Does this guy have engineers? No, he didn't. He was able to do it. Now we should be able to finish them. And we did expend our movement points, so that's that. And I'm going to go ahead and move forward and continue with our line. I'm not going to take that attack just yet. Okay, most of the rest of our attacks I could pull off. Now this guy is going to have the same combat strength as this one, so I expect the odds to be the same, unless they're of different group quality or they have some advantages. So this is going to be a hard fight, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to this as quickly as I'd like to. We already attacked with that unit. I forgot. I think I'm going to go ahead with my armor unit here. How much damage can we do with a cavalry unit? Much important. I'm fairly certain if we move the tank here, we could do good work with that. I'm going to see of the different ones that we have available, what we may be able to do with that. Okay, so here we could kill 2 with no losses. Here we could kill 3 with no losses. I think we go with the 3 because we don't want to try and break the infantry that's forming this line. That we breached them, that's important, and we did make them run away. So, very good for us. Let's see if we can follow up with more of that. We do have an infantry unit here. I don't know if I would necessarily want to move them in just yet. Let's move this unit in and see if we can finish off the weakened unit. I don't know if that's the best move. I feel like I just have to start working to break these guys. We may be able to encircle these guys, so maybe we just don't worry about them. And we'll hit this guy first. And then maybe we follow up with a tank strike as well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to push that much without the tank. Unless I move down and then hit this guy again, but I have a feeling I'm not going to do much more than that 1 damage. Well, I could potentially do quite a bit of damage. Let's see what we got. So we got 4, which should kill him, and then the same chances to do casualties down here. So let's go with this one. Destroyed. And if we had overrun him, we would have got another attack. So that's why you want to use your armor. It can really get you those results. Now that I've broken the enemy, or at least made a hole here, I should be able to move some of these other units down in, help me out. And we could also cut this guy off from supply, perhaps. I'm not sure if I can get in there enough, because this guy does have zone of control, stopping me from getting that in circle. But still, I don't think a bad move. So, go ahead and move. We should probably go with the guys that are more in the back. Get them involved. Then if we make a greater hole, we can work with that. This guy's 1-0 odds. Let's go with that. And let's see if we can break him by successively attacking him here. So, we're still 1-1, fortunately. These guys don't have great defense, so they probably shouldn't hold the line if I can avoid it. Move this guy up instead. So here's another example of where we can get a casualty perhaps without taking any. And then, now that we've weakened him sufficiently, the more damage he's going to take, the less he's going to be able to defend. We can hit him again. Fortunately, we did take a casualty despite odds. Okay. So I think that's as much push as I'm going to get down here, unfortunately. Now, there may be a better, more optimum way to push than what I've done here. But, you know, I'm still kind of trying to learn. That's the problem with the campaign is, you know, with the scenarios I've done, I played the scenarios a few times through to see what I need to do get the best results, and now I have that on a much grander scale. Okay, that wasn't so bad there. I think we should move down. Let's do this middle part. So what I really want to do is I want to get this bridge if I can. Fortunately, I don't have much follow-up with that if I don't kill this guy. And I can't really do that many casualties. This may have been where I wanted to do the airstrike rather than the other spots. I may just have to hold fast here. Well, this is a spot we can attack as well, where we have a bridge we may be able to get through. I'll take heavy casualties doing this, but maybe if we stick with this guy who doesn't have that many attackers, have him take the casualties, and then see if we can get more out of this guy. Alright, managed to kill him. So the bridge is free, so now we can cross. These are really bad odds for us, though. That's okay, we got to cross the bridge, that's what I was looking for. Now the other one. That's going to be the tough one. I could cross the bridge, but I feel like we get murdered if I do that because they could attack me from a lot of hex sides, and I'd be, I think, weakened because I crossed the river, if I'm remembering what I read in the manual correctly. I feel like I almost have to take this attack, though. So I'm going to do it. We lose some casualties, but maybe we'll eventually be able to break through these guys if I just stick with it. Okay. Specialist. I wanted to see what that particular thing was. Okay, let's see. I think at this point I should just move. Oh, I can move quite a bit with these guys. This is probably not a bad spot to get to. Yeah, and these guys don't have the strongest defense, but if we can get in here and do some casualties without taking losses ourselves, oops. And we took one, but we breached this guy, which will help us in the future. Kind of wish I had done that move earlier, but I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. I think I am going to move this unit down as well, as we may be able to get something going in the south down here. Fortunately, I really can't get to the enemy at the moment. Alternatively, this is a motorized unit. Okay, we could have the motorized unit take the place of this guy. That's going to be a move there. Then we'll have our motorized guy kind of be the backup down here. We do have a Panzer here. Fortunately, I can't move far enough and let's get that. I think we should focus on the north because we've already got a good drive going here. So, go ahead and do that. Okay. I think we have a good chance of maybe capturing this. Alright, let's go down. I don't think I'm going to get much done with these guys. So all we have left is the south here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here. So this is just an introduction to the game, and we're going to, at least the idea here is to play through this first campaign, and then we'll see from there what we end up doing. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.